The type to play games, you can state claims. Came to show the movement moving like a freight train, breaking walls and crumble earth with every step we take. We walking by with lash and your neck will break. Never let it stray, so say it wrong, won't set it straight. So coming at us with an awkward demeanor is leaving your life in the dead of face. So pedal straight, avoid these shots, we send it all costs. Truly believing that it'll be different, we watching your body get hauled off. Simple as this, we giving the vibe of the revolution that we living within. Diminish the doubt of the haters that talk on the low because of this minuscule shit.
I wanted to bring it back for a bit. I actually meant to do this a couple of weeks ago, but forgot. But then I got reminded that August is RPG a Day 2024. And I was like, oh yeah, I was going to do the thing. So no matter what, about this time of year, every year, people come up with their lists of games they think you should be playing other than game. Or, 10 fantasy games that are different than D&D, 10 science fiction games to get your Star Wars fix, 10 games to play while you're waiting for the next episode of Fallout, that kind of thing, right? Now with the 2024 D&D thingy approaching us rapidly, we're going to see a lot more of people going, hey, instead of that, this. So here's mine. Instead of doing 5, I thought we'd start with 3. And then if I remember to do it, we'll probably do some more for each specific genre. But I think 3 is enough because, if I get into like 5 or 8 or 10, that's just a lot of time of me talking. Okay. So my criteria was, first and foremost, they had to be in print. Now, I look at a lot of these lists and I'm like, yeah, but that's not in print. Yeah, okay, you're recommending X, but that's a really hard game to find, okay? Yeah, okay, you're recommending Y, but that game's like $90 on eBay. So first and foremost, it had to be something you could get in print, at least PDF on drive-through. So best bang for the buck. That was my first priority. The second priority was best bang for the buck. System that allows you to do the most amount of stuff with the least amount of effort. Is it easy to learn, easy to play, easy to acquire? So these were all my efforts. So some of my preferred games won't be on the list because they're either very difficult to learn or you can't find them. They're just, out of print or difficult to find. So mashing that all together, obviously top of the list, of course, is going to be Basic Role-Playing Universal Game Engine / Call of Cthulhu / Chaosium. Now, the most recent version, which is like $24, I think, which is a little pricey, apparently had some editing issues when it first came out. I believe they've gone through and fixed it, but this is just a great generic do-all system. This would be like my desert island system. If I could only pick one system that allowed me to run everything I could think of that is easy to acquire for you, it would probably be this. And a lot of people have said over the years that they think the Call of Cthulhu engine, the basic role-playing game engine, is one of, if not the best systems. Several people, my introduction to the system was somebody else saying, yeah, I think this is the system that just fits everything. And then they told a story about how some people showed up to their house and they wanted to play a game. And the guy's like, okay, we'll use this. And within like 10 minutes of grabbing the Call of Cthulhu rules, they were able to cobble together a game that fit what everybody wanted to play. So yeah, a lot of people think it's the best system. It's a good system. I mean, it's despite how complicated Call of Cthulhu is, the actual engine is really simple. It's percentile. So yeah, and it's definitely a game system that you could do anything with. Fantasy, sci-fi, superheroes, Old West. Yeah, it's definitely a good go-to. So that's obviously on my list. If you've been listening to my channel long enough, you know that I always mention this. And it's the most popular game in Asia. All right, number 2 of my top 3 games you should be playing in 2024 that isn't Dungeons and Dragons is Amazing Adventures, which is supposed to be coming out with a brand new version pretty soon for Trollord games. And I will say this, and I know at least 8 other people agree with me, Amazing Adventures version of the Siege engine, the same system that they use for Castles and Crusades, is actually better. Amazing Engines does D20 fantasy better than Castles and Crusades did D20s. A lot of people prefer this for their go-to. It's the same basic system. It just was written with like pulp action and adventure in mind, as opposed to fantasy adventure in mind. But it's another one that could be, tweaked to be generic. And, I played Castles and Crusades. I played a lot of Castles and Crusades. There's a lot of stuff about Castles and Crusades I liked. A lot of stuff about Castles and Crusades I didn't like. And then I've played this system, and I've talked about this system with people, and I've seen reviews of systems, and it does the exact same thing that Castles and Crusades did without the investment of money and time, and slightly better, or at least slightly different enough that people have actually said, actually, this does D20 fantasy better than Castles and Crusades did D20 fantasy. I don't know how many people agree with me. I mean, a lot of people feel that of the D20 retro clones, Castles and Crusades is number one. It is the game that is embracing the legacy of gygax, that is maintaining the gygax library, that is closest to the heart of what gygax intended the game to evolve into. But, it's a heavy investment, and they're constantly rewriting the rules. This is a much cheaper investment. And again, it's one of those systems that with a little tweaking, I could run space, I could run fantasy, I could run supers, I could run Old West. Obviously, can I run supers in this system is always the first in my mindset, because that's just my go-to. Like, can I build Spider-Man in this system is my go-to. And the third one, which just, it's the game that never dies. You think, it's done, we're done. But then something else happens and people are like, oh yeah, I'm all about this again. And it's Cyberpunk. Most recently, the Cyberpunk Edge Runners Mission Kit. What a weird, wacky run Cyberpunk has had. We got Cyberpunk 2020 with my good friend Mike Poundsmith, who probably doesn't remember me, and all the other stuff that came out. Then we had GURP Cyberpunk, and then all the other Cyberpunk games that came out, and everybody was jumping on the Cyberpunk bandwagon in the 80s. William Gibson as a, in an interview, whether it was a fake, well, actually it was a fake interview, but some people said he meant it, when asked about the fact that he coined the phrase cyberspace, says that, yeah, they never let me forget it, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. So a lot of people wanted to jump on the William Gibson Neuromancer Count Zero Cyberpunk bandwagon while it was hot. And Arch Solian was one of the first, did it the best. A lot of other companies did Cyberpunk. I got a chance to work with them on Cyberpunk and Cyber Generation and Infusion. And then Cyberpunk, of course, just sort of petered away because the Cyberpunk future came and went. And we're looking at now it's 2022. And like, where's my flying cars? Where's my replicants? Where's my cybernetics? Where's my dystopian mega structure Seattle, right? And then the video game came out, and that suddenly recharged the franchise. And despite the fact that we know the video game was full of issues, it was just popular. Everybody loved it. Maybe they loved it because of the issues, but they loved it. And then that generated the Netflix show, which everybody loved. And then, of course, when the Netflix show came out, people were going, oh man, how can I do Cyberpunk Edge Runner using D&D? Or how can I do Cyberpunk Edge Runner using X? And everybody else who'd been around for longer than 5 years were like, there is a Cyberpunk role-playing system out, right? It's been out since 2020. And they're like, what? And Mike and Poundsmith and company were like, what? Suddenly we're popular again because of this Edge Runner thing? We should re-release it. And they re-released it. And then they re-released it again. And then finally, I guess because there's more going on with the Edge Runners license, even though the main character dies at the end. Spoilers! But Netflix is probably going to revisit it in some form. They released the Cyberpunk Edge Runners Mission Kit. So all the people who said, hey, what game system can I run this Netflix show in? Mike Poundsmith said, okay, I guess you guys don't realize this system's already out, but all right, why not milk it? Here we go. Here's the Cyberpunk Edge Runners Mission Kit, inspired by the Netflix TV show, that was inspired by my game, that was inspired by a previous game, that was inspired by what was happening in the 80s. So that's my third go-to. I loved the interlock system. I was an interlock system addict. There was just something so refreshingly easy of just a D10 base system. I constantly bothered Mike about how could we hack this into a superhero system. I constantly tried to hack it into a superhero system because I hack everything into superhero systems. I constantly tried to hack Fusion into a superhero system. One of the reasons why Mike might have stopped talking to me is because I kept bugging him to do superheroes. I don't know. But we did Cyber Generation, which was pretty damn close to superheroes. And then, you know, things happen. And now, here we go. So those are my three. Basic role-playing, obviously. If you could only have like one game system. Now, I'm not saying, you know, favorite systems, because I know Shadow will say Villains and Vigilantes, but that's a hard system to get your hands on. Basic role-playing is an easy system. Same with Amazing Adventures. There are other systems that do it better, but what my criteria was which three games are just general starter games that are easy to get, relatively inexpensive, easy to start, easy to play, easy to learn. And those are my three. We'll do this again. We'll do top 3 fantasy, top 3 space, top 3 science, you know, supers, whatever. But I thought this was a good way to start. As we go into the end of the month, go towards San Diego Comic Book Con and Gen Con. And of course, all of August is RPG A Day on Facebook, which I have done every year since it first went live, which means, yes, I have been broadcasting for 10 years. Person who said I haven't, because this is the 10th year anniversary of RPG A Day. And RPG A Day, first year, was one of the very first things I did on this channel 10 years ago, when I started this channel on Site 0, the site before Site A, where I was using a different name. So yes, I have been doing this for 10 years. God help me. So there you go. If you like any of those, let me know. If you disagree with me, that's completely understandable. Let me know why. If you've got a system you want to suggest, comment down below. Other than that, have a great day. Enjoy the lovely weather. Be safe. Be kind. Rewind. Wow, there's something cyberpunk for you. Be kind, rewind.